Welcome back to TalkNorth.com. Thank you for listening. If you can, please download before you listen. It helps our business. I'd also like to thank our producer, Brandon Morton, and let you know if you'd like to sponsor this program or any of the programs on the network, you can reach me at jsouhan47@gmail.com.
Yeah, yeah, oh yeah, what condition my condition was in.
Twins just missed on Manny Machado. Let's see how many other free agents they're just going to miss on as spring's training really gets rolling here. We're going to talk about Miguel Sano, Machado, Harper, Kimbrel, Marwin, Gonzales.
Why would you sign Machado when you can sign Marwin Gonzales?
Exactly. Yeah, my thoughts exactly. He's Roy Smalley. This is Roy Smalley's chin music, part of the TalkNorth.com podcast network. This is our baseball show from the former Twins great. Somebody fired back at me when I called you a Twins great, but I'm sticking with it. Go look up the stats and compare them to the other players who played his position during the era. A lot of intrigue now, thanks to our sponsors, Berry Coffee, berrycoffee.com, and Tony Hoaglund, your State Farm agent, who works out of Champlin, Hoaglund. And thanks to our producer, Brandon Morton. Please download before you listen. Follow us on Twitter at TalkNorthPod. And if you'd like to advertise with us, you can reach us at talknorthpodcast@gmail.com. As baseball rolls, this is a good time to get involved with the show and reach a very dedicated audience. So, Machado signs with the Padres. 10 years, $300 million. I will admit I'm a little surprised by all of those things. By the team, the market size, the term, and the salary.
I am too. I was shocked. I was absolutely shocked. And we actually talked about the Padres, I think, because I think you had heard
I heard they were
rumor that they...
Yeah, they were courting Machado and Harper. The question was, would they come up with the money?
I look at that roster, and admittedly, I mean, I'm an American League guy. I'm not as tuned into the National League as other people might be, but I was in San Diego broadcasting games a couple of years ago. I've seen them play. I'm familiar with their roster, and I look at that and say the point that you've always made. One guy, no matter how good, is not going to turn a franchise around. And so I don't think he's going to turn that franchise around. They'll be better. Clearly, they'll be better. But they're going to pay him $30 million a year for 10 years in the meantime. And how much more have they got? Maybe they can have a $300 million annual payroll and see if they can, sign Harper and sign every starting pitcher free agent that comes around and build themselves a team that will ultimately win. But I like the Twins method better than the Padres method at this point.
It's really a fascinating move in so many ways because it's a huge output. They now have three players who are going to make a combined like $75 million over the next 3 years per year. So it's a huge commitment. And they have a great farm system. They have the top-rated farm system in baseball. So I guess you look at it and say, okay, maybe Machado can be the point man for this wave. Maybe he can be the leader. But then you look at Machado and you say he's a guy who doesn't hustle and who steps on first baseman's feet. And is that the kind of guy you want as a leader of a bunch of young players? That almost concerns me as much as the term and the salary.
Well, I think that's a good point. And I only know Machado from what I watch. I don't know him personally, and I haven't talked to any former teammates to have them tell me that, you and I are wrong about that. He's really a terrific guy, and that stuff he didn't mean that, and it's overblown and blah, blah, blah. I mean, maybe that is. I still think your point is a good one. The farm system's going to have to, come on in a hurry. As good as they are, they're going to have to come on in a hurry, or it's it'll be 2 or 3 years of mediocrity at best with a nice player there on the left side of the diamond, and people are going to be scratching their heads saying, "Okay, when's this going to happen?" I mean, maybe the Padres system will be one of those rare system occurrences when all 5 of their best prospects in the minor leagues turn into Mike Trouts overnight at the same time. Maybe that will happen. And it's a pretty big gamble.
Yeah, and comparisons can be overdone, but it does almost remind me of Robinson Cano. Plays great for the Yankees, becomes a star, great hitting middle infielder, capitalizes on it by signing with Seattle, and goes out there and basically disappears off the face of the earth. His numbers go down because it's not a great ballpark for his swing. The team doesn't win, and he goes from being a Yankee, a Yankee great who's on TV 18 times a week to being a guy you go, oh yeah, Robinson Cano still plays baseball.
That was, and he did get hurt one year.
Yep.
He had the first year he went there. He had a pretty good year, not Yankee caliber years that he's had in the past, but pretty good year. And then he was hurt, and that's the kind of thing that happens with long-term deals of stars that are getting older. So we'll see. These are all the things that should be going through every general manager's mind when president of baseball operations mind when they think about it. They do think about these things. Well, geez, I've looked at. There's countless guys that you point to and say, didn't work. We used to have a saying when I was playing way back when, if a guy got went as a free agent somewhere else or got traded somewhere else, for some reason they weren't the same guy, and it was really weird. I can name a lot of guys. Al Cowens is in Kansas City, was a terrific right fielder and hitter for Kansas City. Went out to Seattle, coincidentally enough, and he was just another guy, as good a player as he had been. And he jumps into my mind, but there were a lot of guys like that. As soon as they left and went the team where they had become so good, they went somewhere else, and it just never quite clicked. Obviously, though, there are plenty of I suppose there are examples where that's not the case, but it was enough of the case where I remember talking about it with some of the guys on the bench, in the Twins team in 86, 87. We look at player movement and what a guy did. And go, it just doesn't look the same. It's not the same.
Cano, his numbers are just slightly down from when as a Mariner as compared to when he was a Yankee. Of course, some of those Yankee numbers were when he was just a kid breaking in. His rookie year wasn't great. His second year was exceptional. So his slugging percentage is a little down. His batting average is a little down. His on-base percentage is virtually the same. His OPS plus, which factors in all the ballpark stuff and all that, is actually up a touch. But, then you look at it, I think he performed in 12 postseason series for the Yankees. He has performed in 0 postseason series for the Mariners. That's not to blame him for that. That's to point out that, once again, one player just can't carry a baseball franchise. It's not how it works.
Yeah, really true. And just about that, that ballpark is a tough ballpark to hit in. Mm-hmm. It just is one of the, if it's not tough, let's just say it's very much not hitter friendly.
Right.
It's stats will go down if you go from almost anywhere else to there. Your stats won't be as good. That's been proven, borne out.
I also wonder if he might end up costing himself a Hall of Fame berth because, if he plays in Yankee Stadium, his power numbers are going to be spectacular, especially for a second baseman. He's going to be in the postseason constantly. He's going to be talked about a lot. And in Seattle, the power numbers aren't going to be quite as good. He's not in the postseason. Who knows by the time he's
I think the disappearance that you mentioned is just the fact that he went to Seattle.
Yeah.
That's not a media hotbed. And I agree with your point about, I think if you're a star with the Yankees, go ahead and try to finish it out with the Yankees. That's a great place. It's the best place to be a star. The very best place. And I'm surprised that more guys don't understand that.
And you're going to get paid. You might not get paid exactly what you want, but you're not going to get cheapskate.
Let's just say your children's children won't notice the difference.
One more angle on Machado and Cano I want to get to. Then we'll talk about Harper, Kimbrel, Marwin, Gonzales, who's Twins rumor du jour. I do want to thank Berry Coffee, berrycoffee.com. We've told you about Steve Brem. We've told you about the commitment to service. We've talked about how it's a green company, how they do a lot of good works. And just want to remind you that, as we talk about it, this isn't a new company we're just trying to introduce to the market. We're trying to tell people about somebody who has been in the market since 1979. Steve has been doing this for a long time. They are about to put in a second roaster, so they continue to grow. They're in more and more restaurants and bars and small businesses. Anytime I end up talking to a business owner, I say, hey, you should, if you're going to have a coffee service, if you're going to have any kind of beverage service, if you're going to have, if you're going to have snacks for your employees, if you're going to do anything, go to berrycoffee.com. They can provide everything you want: equipment, great coffee, all the different brands you might want, pop, carbonated water, whatever you want. They can give it to you, and you can find all the information you need about them at berrycoffee.com.
And I think some businesses might think, I don't know if we're the right size. It's Berry Coffee. You see their trucks around. I know they do most of the big corporations in town. And many of the restaurants, but their commitment to service and what they're able to do. I mean, they price things accordingly. The service stays the same, right? So there almost isn't a situation where it's not a good fit.
So here's my other angle on Machado signing for that much money. There are two different ways to view this, and usually I view it the way Major League general managers do, which is you're always looking for value. Value, 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 value. You want to do good deals that aren't going to hamstring you, deals that aren't going to be onerous to your ownership. That's the logical approach. It's the approach if I were a baseball owner, I'd want my general manager to take. Then there's the often cited fan view, which I usually discount because it's just so easy to tell people how to spend their money. But you do wonder when you see a smaller market team without a lot of local TV revenue, or the radio revenue, spend $300 million on one player when they're not even in contention yet. Sometimes you wonder, maybe these teams just have so much money and are making so much money that they can't afford to do this and not really be hurt by it.
Yeah, I don't know the economics. It could be the case. I know one of the best things that I heard is when Texas signed Alex Rodriguez to that 10-year, $25 million contract way back when, which was unheard of. And then I heard that, and I think this is true. They were signing a new TV and radio deal, and guess what deal they got? They got $10 million for for a year, for a lot of years. And so it can boost other revenue sources. There's no question about that. It will get fans excited. And that reminds me of a topic that one of our great listeners, Dennis, wanted to talk about: the wow factor versus the business factor, right?
Yeah.
And so this is a perfect example. Dennis's view, I think, is that that he pays for the wow factor, not the efficiency factor, right, not the workmanlike build.
Dennis Sundley, longtime listener.
Yeah,
I'm glad you reminded me of that question.
Yeah, he's a great listener and a great baseball fan, and so I think that he raises an interesting point, and I don't know that there's an answer to it other than this: I'm still in the efficiency camp more than the wow camp, because I think. Ultimately, Dennis says he pays money for the wow factor, but I think the wow factor goes away if you consistently finish, 78 and 84, right? Ultimately you're paying for wins. That's what everybody wants to see. Everybody wants to see a winning ball club get in the postseason or challenge the postseason potential every single year, right? And or for at least for long stretches of time, without long stretches of time when you have to then totally rebuild everything. I mean, that's the ultimate goal. You're talking about, well, how would you be a general manager? I think the way most of us would like to be a general manager is to say, we're going to be in contention most years. Sometime we're going to be in it. Maybe we'll go a long way in postseason, and also we'll never have a prolonged lapse. We'll never go 5 years where we win 70 games, right? And because there have been plenty of those examples too. So for me, in response to Dennis's really good point, I still think it's about how you win games, and that's when you get to the value proposition that you're talking about. And said, okay, is this combination of projected player performance and what it does to the payroll and what it does for my ability to keep